Hey guys, CubeHamster here and welcome to a new video. It is almost the end of the year, almost the end of 2015 as I'm recording this video. And it has been a very interesting year for Redstone. Like a lot of very cool things have been made, a lot of very cool contraptions, a lot of very innovative contraptions. And I would like to close the year by going through like what I think is my personal top 10 most innovative redstone contraptions made in 2015 for Minecraft 1.8. So I'm not talking about contraptions that are, super cool to look at. No, I'm like talking about things created by other content creators. So I'm obviously not going to use my own videos that are really like pushing forward the boundaries of redstone. I'll present them to you guys, not in a particular order, it's not like this is my favorite or stuff like that. No, I'm gonna present them to you in like a chronological order, the things that I find or found the most interesting and innovative in 2015. So hope you enjoy. Sit back and be sure to take notes because there like a lot of really cool stuff has happened this year. So get ready. Back in February 2015, the year started out great when Myron Irio released his compact ghost block generator. Something that set in motion like a whole new field when it came to redstone. He himself had done extensive research in of like ghost blocks, but this like compactness and this amount of research has led to a variety of different very cool inventions. But this is how it started. He has a video going like a lot further into detail than I'm going to go right now. But I want to show you guys the basics. So what I have here is a piston, and it seems as if, or it looks as if, I am duplicating it whenever I activate his compact ghost block generator. But in fact, these blocks are an illusion. They're phantom blocks or ghost blocks. They're not really here. As soon as I right-click them, they will just like pop out of existence. And yeah, these ghost blocks have a variety of different properties. You can also use them to, duplicate or create ghost blocks of other materials. So if you want to fool your friends with diamonds, technically you can. It has to be said though, like these blocks have variety of interesting mechanics. First of all, they are client-sided. Like the server doesn't know that these blocks exist. But what this does do is that like I'm actually playing on the server at this very moment. I'm playing on my Realm server. But if I were to switch to survival and go to third person, you see like I'm actually standing on these ghost blocks, even though they're not there. So if there was another person on the server right now and they would look at me, they would see me, floating in the air, probably accuse me of hacking, even though, it's using mechanics in the game, kind of like cheaty ones, but mechanics nonetheless. Just to prove like further that these ghosts actually, or that these blocks don't actually exist, if I were to leave the server, so I disconnect, and I then were to reconnect again, you would see me standing on the ground. So this device, in a way, has actually created sort of a desynchronization between me and the server. And this is something that will come back in the future, and the name Myron Irio will also reappear on this list multiple times, because he has done a lot of stuff this year, very cool stuff. After Myron released his ghost block generator, a lot of people started messing around with these ghost blocks, see what you could do. And one of the first things that really like blew people out of the water didn't really take long to be discovered, which was the ghost elevator. Something created by Noordi, Panda4994 and Redstone Spire. And this uses ghost blocks in a really weird and awkward way, and it still works in 1.8.9, and as far as I know it also still works in 1.9. So this is an elevator, but you don't see any pistons whatsoever. There's a slime block here. This is actually a ghost block, so when I right click it will disappear, but I can quickly regenerate it by just stepping on the pressure plate here. But what happens is when I stand on the ghost block, I have to wait a little bit. After a while you'll hear ticking, and then I will take damage from suffocation. I will get launched upward, all the way up to the platform. I think it's like 50 blocks upward. Potentially you could even go higher than that. So let me quickly go down and try not to fall to my death. So bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. There we go. But yeah, the way this works is super weird, and it has to do with the desynchronization thing I talked about earlier. So what's happening, like there is not really anything below. If I go to game mode 1, so the server essentially thinks that like I'm falling down, I'm like standing on nothing. And then after a while, like my falling becomes so much that the tripwire hook kind of like gets triggered, even though I'm still standing up there. And when it gets triggered, it will basically suffocate the player quickly. And this, like, taking damage will allow the player to experience the bouncing effect from the slime block, from the ghost slime block, as if it has been falling for, you know, hundreds and hundreds of blocks. You know how from how higher you fall on a slime block, the higher you bounce up. I personally don't know the exact like details why this happens, and if you want to, you know, learn more about this phenomenon, I recommend checking out the original video. But it is some really weird stuff, and you can make very like cool elevators with that. So again, suffocation damage, and we get bounced up. So yeah, this I don't think this thing has gotten the attention it deserves. It's really cool, and you know, works on servers and works in single player as well. Like, it's a very fast elevator, very smooth ride up, and yeah, the only downside is you take a little bit of damage, but for the most part, really cool. Now, March was also a very interesting month when it came to Redstone. Basically, like as soon the moment that slime blocks came out, people started building flying machines with them. One-way flying machines, then it didn't really take long for people to come up with a way to make two-direction flying machines with stations, controllable like speeds, giant controllable robots you might have known, you know, a variety of different things. But one of the things that have, like, up until that point sort of always eluded, and you can say maybe still has been the 4-direction flying machine. And people ask about it a lot. Like, I do slime block videos, I get in the comments like all the time, please make, you know, a flying machine that goes 4 ways. But it's really hard. The 12 block push limit is a thing that limits, you know, what you can do with slime blocks. But in March 12, 2015, Peter Zhang, actually one of my favorite Redstoners, just throwing it out there, he created what he calls a quasi 4-way flying machine. And in a sense, what it is a very like literally the simplest flying machine you can imagine, but it takes along a bunch of pistons as it's flying. And these pistons are components, and whenever it reaches a gigantic station, there's a whole variety of piston like interactions that go on. And basically what it does is it reassembles the flying machine using the parts that it's bringing along with itself, and therefore like rebuilds the flying machine facing another direction. So it's not like, it's basically, it's not a machine that is going 4 directions, but it is a machine that has the parts to be reassembled to go like the other directions. But that at the time, that was, you know, kind of like a new thing, something that hadn't been done before. I know that Redstone Jazz, like another one of my favorite Redstoners, also has done a lot of stuff. He also has like his own interpretations of 4-way flying machines. But yeah, this one was really the first one that was, you know, completed in a sense that you could really see it go all directions, as you can see in Peter Zhang's video here. I'm not going to show the whole thing. I recommend just checking out his complete video on it. But yeah, at the time it was really cool. And yeah, like it's still sort of a holy grail of Redstone, and I know that Peter is still trying to get it, and as far as I know, he's getting closer and closer. So maybe at some point we will see a proper full-wave flying machine. And that wasn't even the biggest thing in March, though. This is like the next thing is something that's been, developed over several months. Something that actually started in 2014, when people started like theorizing if it was possible to make a, slime block quarry system, kind of similar to what you see in Feed the Beast and like mods. See if it's possible can you excavate an area using slime blocks, carry the blocks to, I don't know, a wither cage, break down the blocks, and collect all the raw material that you mined. And development had gone on. Early prototypes could do certain things that would get improved. Components that were useful started being developed, and like a whole series of people were involved with this. Myron being one of them, who had eventually like released the first fully functional quarry. Redstone Jazz, who has done a lot of work on several components and like earlier designs. Redstone Stuff helped with some of the directional issues, making it so that components can move back and forth, and like Sandcarn being the one to originally like theorize how it would work. But what you see here in the background, and this is a speed up footage using Panda 4994's tick speed mod. But this is a fully functioning quarry where the blocks get transported and moved to a wither cage. Now it's not perfect, this is a solid block, and like any sort of gravel or sand or possible other lava, I don't know. Like there's a lot of potential for this to mess up, but the thing is though, you are like essentially deconstructing a giant cube of material, which is really cool. So yeah, this is like again one of those things that I think is absolutely amazing, and I think it deserves a lot more attention than it did at the time. Now the next creation is a little bit weird. The next innovation, it's called the Rotor, created by Pi, and then a whole bunch of numbers that also represent Pi, so we'll just call him Pi. But yeah, like Pi is what I like to call a zero tick expert. Zero tick is like a very like high fancy redstone terminology, where basically it's super fast. Pi specializes in super fast clocks and stuff, but what he managed to do in this video in April is get a situation where 3 long segments of slime blocks are essentially rotating around each other in the same 2x2 space, which is really weird because normally slime blocks stick to each other. Now in the video that I recommend you go check out, he shows how you could use this sort of as an ender pearl stasis chamber. He basically shows you how to start it up. But yeah, it's a really cool mechanic, and after that people started messing around more with zero tick stuff. But it's always been a thing. It's like zero tick is not new, but the fact that he managed to combine it with slime blocks to the point where you could have 3 slime blocks moving around in a circle in the same 2x2 area was really like a thing at the time, which is like, what? Is that possible as well? Okay, next up on the list, we have one of my favorites. In May 2015, this was like half a year after Seth Bling and me released Missile Wars. Redstone Stuff released his 9-block thick shield buster. Now I realized that recently, LaFuller and Alex have created, what you could possibly argue, better versions of this missile. But the fact remains, though, that the mechanics on Redstone's stuffs like missile are kind of amazing. I mean, this thing is completely huge, ridiculous, oversized compared to what's possible now. But the fact remains, though, that at the time, like, it took a very long time for someone to finally come up with, you know, a working, better design. And I still think that, like, his design from May is like, it's a work of art. That's how I see it. And he uses a lot of very interesting mechanics that can be used for a variety of different things. So I recommend checking out the full video. It's really cool. Now, next up on the list, we have one which I think is actually relatively well known. It is the 100 by 100 flush and seamless door by Wout12345. At the time when published, Jab himself tweeted about this, so it got quite a bit of exposure. And it is, I think to date, I could be wrong, still the biggest door in Minecraft. It's fun though, because it originally started out as like an April Fool's joke, and Wout kind of like spent a ton of time and made it a reality. So opening sequence, 12 hours, he recorded the whole thing in his video, and you can also see the closing animation. And the redstone is fantastic. It uses similar techniques to that of the three-dimensional Corey, but like he had to custom make all the components himself. I do want to give like a little shout out to Redstone Jazz as well, because he was at the time actually working on a similar project. But yeah, with these things, it's kind of like the first one to publish like ends up mostly getting the most exposure. But like he made one as well, so shout out to him as well. But like both of like Wout and Redstone Jazz did an amazing job, and I highly recommend checking their videos on it in the Redstone. Moving on to July, there was another thing, like another amazing thing that got released called the Magical Storage System, made by Ultimate Redstone. And you know, storage systems have been around for ages, but this one did something that all the others before it couldn't. You write what you want in a book, you select like how many of the item you want, multiples of 2, toss the book away, and you wait an average of 6 seconds, and the items get delivered to you in the amount that you preset. It can handle every item in the game, and it is super fast. The redstone is absolutely beautiful, and it's just, you know, mind-boggling how this came to be. So I recommend checking out the video, taking a good look at the redstone, you know, downloading it yourself. But like when it came out, it was really cool. Now, I mean, this list is personal, and I mean, a long time ago, I've made one of the first like proper tree farms. So the next thing on the list is a bit more personal, but it is the Dark Oak tree farm created in November by Ilmango. Now, this is not the first Dark Oak tree farm created, but it does use some, like I find like interesting techniques to make the whole thing work. First of all, it's ridiculous, like the quantity of wood that this thing processes is completely ridiculous. Like it comes installed with wither cages that destroy. It produces enough saplings when the leaves get crushed. But what I find is like kind of interesting is like it is very hard to get enough saplings returned for you to be able to constantly do this. So what Ilmango had to do is like desperately use hopper minecarts in a way to get the saplings that you need to keep replanting the trees, which I kind of think is kind of funny. But yeah, hooked up to a wither cage, and this thing is just completely ridiculous, and I highly recommend just checking out the full video. Now, the last one I wanted to include on this list was a creation by Panda4994 with the help of Redstone Spire and Sandcarn, and it is the survival-friendly sand generator for 1.8. Sand generators, like we used to have sand generators, and they unfortunately they got fixed. But yeah, development has gone on, and people have, you know, theorized about different ways of being able to create sand, and actually Rayworks created a pretty fast sand generator, I think a couple months earlier. But in order for that one to work, you needed to play on a server, and like chunks had to be loaded. But what Panda did, and this is just like I can't even go into the full detail because like he spends literally an hour explaining how he did it in his survival world. But by like abusing the Ender Crystal and like lazy chunks and chunk loading, he managed to pull it off in single player. And this is probably one of the more elaborate ones on this list. But it's like if you watch the full thing, it is kind of completely ridiculous the amount of effort you have to go through in order to get this sand generator working in your survival world. But it is definitely really, really, really cool. Hey guys, I hope you liked my little list for 2015, my little top 10. It's a personal thing, so feel free to disagree with me all you want. it's completely up to you. But like I had a lot of fun making this, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm sure that 2016 will be another interesting year for Redstone, even though maybe the 1.9 update is not giving, for old school Redstone as much capabilities or new abilities if we want to. Like we as a community are innovative enough to come up with our own new innovations. We don't need Mojang for that. So guys, hope you had fun watching this, and I wish you all best wishes for 2016, and yeah, hopefully we're going to make another fun year next year. So thanks for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye bye.